Hey everyone, welcome back to another hardware news recap for the week. In this one, we'll be talking about a new charity shirt that we're launching. Definitely stay tuned for that. We'll also be talking about some hardware news, like Dell introducing its own version of DDR memory, because why do we need standards? Those are dumb. We'll also be talking about AMD silently launching its RX 6400 video card at a $160 MSRP. So this is AMD's newest low-end video card, and it looks like it should probably cost more like $80 in the traditional market, but it's $160. Nvidia has some Ada Lovelace GPU architecture leaks that are out. We'll also be going over a new modular AIC that can be used for adapting Intel Optane memory into competing platforms like AMD and ARM. There's a lot to go through this week. Let's get started. Before that, this video is brought to you by Be Quiet and the Silent Base 802 case. The Silent Base 802 got high accolades in our review for its high build quality and its versatility in both silence-focused and airflow-focused builds. The 802 comes with swappable mesh panels or noise-damped panels, so you have options for either approach. The Silent Base 802 case is able to fit larger builds as well without being overbearing, and it stands out for its mechanics quality and assembly quality. Learn more about Be Quiet's new case at the link in the description below. So first up, we have a new limited edition GN charity shirt on store.gamersnexus.net. For this shirt, 100% of profits will be donated to the two groups that we've selected. We'll talk more about them in a moment. We've researched and vetted both of the organizations and are excited about what they do. The shirt features a GN hardware heart with the heart made out of liquid cooling tubes and power cables. There's a silhouette of Ukraine centrally represented with Ukraine's colors and components like keyboards, SSDs, RAM, GPUs, and more surrounding it. Centrally, we have a silhouette of a nightingale, which is Ukraine's national bird, and on the back, there's a special version of the GN logo present with Ukraine's national flower, the sunflower, and a city skyline of Kyiv that we've outlined. We've wanted to do something to help with this for a while now, so we took some inspiration from our limited Australia shirt that we did previously back here to make this new shirt in our Hardware Heart charity series. If you weren't a subscriber yet during the Australia one, we did that shirt after the bushfires of 2019 and 2020 and raised nearly $20,000 for wildlife and animal hospitals, and we're planning to continue doing these limited shirts in this series for causes that we believe in. For the Ukraine shirt that we're launching today and will be available for the next 2 weeks only, we're splitting the profits evenly between two charities. The first is World Central Kitchen, which is supplying food across 8 countries, including Ukraine, to help refugees and residents who are struggling to get even the most basic needs met right now. This includes making meals in Ukraine for people who are stuck there or have no other means to get food supply. They're also making food for refugees who need to build a new life in new countries. Countries nearby are struggling with the influx of refugees, so World Central Kitchen is helping with that problem. A lot of our subscribers also know that I'm hugely passionate about helping animals and wildlife and environmental causes, so we're also splitting funding from this charity effort to IFAW, or the International Fund for Animal Welfare. IFAW is currently working with World Central Kitchen. That's why I liked choosing these two. They are running programs right now that help people and pets or animals affected by the conflict, including assistance for Ukrainian refugees with pets and animal rescue and care for those in educational centers like zoos, and working to provide food for the animals. We chose these two because World Central Kitchen is actually directly collaborating with IFAW right now to provide food for people and animals alike, and they can get more out of each dollar that they receive because they're working together on things like logistics and supply chain. So in doing our research, we felt the best about these two. The way they synergize with each other is awesome, stretching more efficiency out of the funds they receive is a noble cause as well. So really happy to support these two, to be able to get you all a unique PC DIY community shirt that shows some support and is limited and you won't be able to get again. So it supports great causes. It gets you something cool in return. If you have our Australia charity shirt, you should pick up one of these as well to go with it, because we're building a series for the Hardware Heart shirts. So this shirt will be a pre-sale. Everyone has a chance to get one at this point. If you want to buy multiple of it so you can frame one, you can have a few to wear forever, then buy multiple, because we are making the amount that are ordered and then we're cutting it off after 2 weeks exactly from the date that this video goes live. Once the orders are closed, you will not have another chance to get one of these, so now's your opportunity. It's going to take us about 4 weeks to 6 weeks to get it all produced and start shipping them to everyone. So a little bit of patience there on the pre-sale pre-sale, but it does allow us to get one for everybody who orders in the next 2 weeks. Really cool shirt. Andrew worked on the design with me on this, and we're both really happy with how it came out. The colors are awesome. They show through really well. We're using the usual water-based inks that we use, so it's a diffusion process that dyes the shirt fabric more environmentally friendly, and it makes a higher quality shirt because it'll just last longer since it dyes the fabric directly. And I want to give a quick thanks here as well to our distributor, Michael, and our shirt supplier, John. Massive shout out to both of you. Thank you for both of them are helping us, giving us a better rate on the shirts, on the distribution costs, so that we can give more money to the charities. So again, huge thanks to both of them in joining us and supporting these efforts. I wanted to shout this out as well. We wanted to work on this shirt for a while. We were working on it, and we started receiving emails from some of our viewers and some of our store customers who are or were in Ukraine, have had to move and relocate to different countries. We've had people say, hey, will you hold my order while I set up my life somewhere else? And then we've also had viewers on the editorial side send us photos of their gaming PCs that they've had to leave behind. So, we're now at a scale where I can personally directly see how world events affect people who like our content and care about our content. And when you all reach out with stories like that, I mean, I read them all, and I feel for you and for the position you're in, and anything we can do to provide even just a little bit of a distraction is an honor for us. So if you want to grab one, head over to store.gamersnexus.net right now, or click the link in the description below so that you can pick up one of these shirts with, again, 100% of the profits from these shirts are going to the charities for relief that we've mentioned. If you want to buy some of our items while you're over there, the toolkits are in stock, the coaster packs, the mod mats are in stock, but our primary goal right now is to get some money over to the groups that IFAW and World Central Kitchen that we've referenced here. So pick up some shirts and get something cool in return. Okay, first news item. Up next is Dell and its new CAM DDR5 specialized form factor memory. Now, Dell, of course, is particularly well known for its high quality pre-built gaming PCs like the G5 5000 we reviewed. The board extends all the way here. This is insane. Never actually seen anyone do this before. It also owns Alienware, which builds computers like this one. This is lazy and cheap. This is crazy. Why would you do all of this? And in the past, it's been known for things like its graphics amplifier, which was very short-lived, but it was homebrewed hardware. So Dell, what we're getting at here, really likes proprietary things, frankly. You look at the motherboards from the Alienware, the G5 5000, you look at the power supplies, they look like ATX 12VO, because they have the same pinout for the motherboard header, but guess what? They're not ATX 12VO, they're special. You can't use them in anything else. They don't fit in normal power supply form factor compartments in normal cases. Actually, though, the power supply quality was decent, but that's another point altogether. So Dell has been combating its image of proprietary junk that just accumulates in massive dumps and landfills by introducing its concept laptop, which is modular and is clearly intended to fight with framework. Dell introduced this concept of a laptop as a challenge to e-waste, a challenge to the environmental damage caused by garbage computers that manufacturers continue to pump out that have components die, which should be replaceable because they should be standard, but then they're not because they're not standard, so they just go into a landfill. Anyway, Dell's trying to fight that, and the newest way it's trying to fight that is by introducing proprietary DDR5 that can't be interchangeable with any other DDR5 on the market. You really wonder sometimes if the departments at these companies are even aware of the existence of the other departments at the same company. Anyway, Dell is moving on to designing this new, yet again, proprietary form factor. This DDR5 is being called Compression Attached Memory Modules, or CAM. Twitter user EmeraldX86 showed images of what appears to be a new workstation-focused laptop. It's the Precision 7670, and it makes use of Dell's CAM form factor. While Dell hasn't officially made any statements on CAM, it's likely that Dell is going to frame CAM as an engineering solution to two parallel issues: soldered memory and reducing the size of the machine itself. The problem with closed designs like these is that they always restrict consumers' upgrade paths to a single source. In this case, that's Dell. And those sources don't tend to keep producing the upgradable options as the components are retired from use. While Dell could theoretically open up the design to third parties, it doesn't mean that there'd be any interest in it from third parties, and frankly, there shouldn't be, because they shouldn't encourage this behavior, especially if they're competitors. Anyway, proprietary DDR is the newest thing to look out for, it's actually insane, because memory is sort of that last bastion of hope where you're like, surely no one would change this. That would be insane. It's just memory. It's DDR3, DDR4, DDR5. It's the most universally socketable component, maybe next to PCIe, that exists in any kind of computer or consumer electronics for our industry, because you could pull out a stick from one system, put it into another, and as long as they're the same slot type, 3, 4, 5, it'll work. Obviously, SO-DIMM is in there as well. But we can't have that. This is why we can't have nice things. Moving on. Rumors about Nvidia's GPU architecture for Ada entering testing now. According to reputable hardware leaker Kopite7Kimi, Nvidia's upcoming Ada architecture that allegedly features an AD102 GPU has entered testing at Nvidia. Nvidia's Ada is set to feature the company's RTX 40 series of graphics cards, and the AD102 is pegged as the flagship GPU silicon. Now, the leaker also shared that Nvidia intends to use 24 gigabit per second GDDR6X memory, although there weren't any details shared beyond that. The configuration, for example, or going single versus dual-sided like you see on the original 3090s, was not known at this point. Now, this rumor actually does line up with some existing news that's fact, that was announced officially. Micron, for example, announced recently that it is planning to push GDDR6X to 24 gigabits per second, which just happens to align with this Nvidia rumor. It's also been rumored for some time at this point that Nvidia's GA102, which is the 3090 Ti, if you had forgotten, that is apparently a test vehicle of sorts for the new AD102 GPU silicon, because the two GPUs, as the rumors state anyway, are pin compatible. That would mean that they could share a PCB. It would mean that you could build one PCB and use it as, again, a test vehicle for the new GPUs as well. Nvidia is loosely expected to get Ada or RTX 40 out the door sometime in the back half of 2022. If Nvidia has truly entered testing with Ada, then we can expect to see some engineering samples surface before too long at this point. And from our discussions with some of the board partners in the industry, it does sound like, at least for now, the target is in the back half of 2022. It's looking like maybe in October, plus or minus a month or two timeline. So something to look forward to in the GPU market, at least. Smart Modular, developing AICs. This is actually kind of interesting. It's not a consumer product necessarily, but it is a very high-performing AIC that allows Intel Optane memory. That's the good version of Optane, not the basically glorified cache drive that was 32 gigabytes, sat in front of a hard drive and was intended to be sold in Dell and HP boxes that were $400 in Best Buy. This is the memory that went into servers instead, the good one. So this company, Smart Modular Technologies, designed a new add-in PCIe card that extends support for Intel's Optane DIMMs to AMD, to ARM, and to Nvidia servers. As ever, Intel's Optane Persistent Memory, or PMEM, DIMMs are only supported on certain Intel Xeon CPUs and have served as an innovative way to tack on loads of extra memory to Intel-based servers. And Optane DIMMs were actually a good technology. They offered huge capacity and speed relative to the other options, where you're looking at RAM on one side, where it's expensive per terabyte or per gigabyte, but very fast, and you look at storage on the other, where you get a lot of it, but it's kind of slow. So Optane helped bridge that gap in the server world. Now, with Smart Modular's new AIC, which is known as the Kestrel PCIe Optane Memory Add-in Card, other servers would be able to benefit from Intel's Optane technology as well, including Intel's competitors to Xeon. Smart Modular claims that with the new AIC, servers would be able to add up to 2 terabytes of Optane memory on a PCIe Gen 4x16 or a PCIe Gen 3x16 interface. And this is irrespective of the motherboard or the CPU. The Kestrel AIC is able to do this in part due to the onboard Intel FPGA that offloads software-defined storage functions from the host CPU to the FPGA. There's a latency cost for non-native support, but it looks like Smart Modular is able to keep the latency down to less than 350 nanoseconds. Going forward, Smart Modular states that there will be AICs capable of supporting up to 4 terabytes of Intel's Optane memory. Up next, GPU stock as part of a new promotion from Nvidia called Restocked and Reloaded. Rebranded is the AMD one coming up. More on that later. Restocked and reloaded. Nvidia and EVGA are restocking basically all of the RTX 30 SKUs, except, as indicated by the promotion name, they seem to have more confidence than before that they'll actually be available for more than just people who've been on a wait list for over a year. So, and it's supposed to be at near MSRP prices. So at the time of this writing, EVGA is currently offering several RTX 30 series cards. Some of these are just on its own website. Then obviously you can go to Newegg, B&H, Amazon, whatever, and get cards there as well. So SKUs like the RTX 3090 Ti at $2,150, down to the RTX 3050 at still too much, but $300 are in stock, at least at the time of writing. Similarly, NVIDIA's online store has retail links to several SKUs spanning the entire line of Ampere, some of which have been maintaining stock. Now, these aren't the only companies working on this. Gallick, which is one of the add-in board partners, competitor of EVGA, is also offering a promotion right now with its card restock, where the GPU price and availability are stabilizing. So Gallick is offering a price guarantee through June 18th of 2022, and it's partnering with JD.com, which is one of the larger retailers based in Asia, to offer the promotion. So the price guarantee is in place for most, if not all, of Gallick's RTX 30 cards. Now, the behind the scenes, why is this happening now? Well, as is typical with manufacturing timelines, where you're many months into the future from when you place the order to when you get the product to sell it, the companies, all of them, NVIDIA included, knew that there were shortages. They were trying to get ahead of them, but at the same time, at the end of this cycle, end of 2022, there's going to be a new card, RTX 40 series, whatever that may be, probably a 4080 or something at launch. And so it's a balance of, we need to order enough to fulfill demand, but not so much that we're left holding a bag full of GPUs in October or whenever the 40 series launches. And that, I think, is why we're seeing these sales and guarantees right now, because the companies they're starting to panic a little bit, where they look at how much is coming in, they look at the proximity of the next launch, they're like, we better sell these, or we're going to be stuck with them, because the market isn't as crazy as it was a year ago when we started placing these orders. Anyway, that's our thoughts on why it's happening. As for whether or not you should buy right now, it's really hard to say. Typically, assuming a normal market, it's kind of like the physics idiom of assume a spherical cow. Everything's just perfect and easy to calculate. Assuming a market from several years ago, our approach might have been, if you need a GPU today, just go ahead and buy it, because you need it today, so there's really no argument to be had. That's the start and the end of it, is you need one now, either for work or because you have a significant period of time off coming up and you want to enjoy it, whatever. If you don't need it today, historically, what we would say is wait a little bit and let's see how the reviews come out for the new stuff if you don't need it for at least 6 months. But because of the availability for the last few years, and because of the fact that there is stuff in stock now, there's almost a little bit of FOMO mixed in there, fear of missing out, where you see a card in stock. I had this problem when I was scrolling through Newegg for this story. I saw stuff in stock and I was like, I feel like I should buy it just because it's there. Do I need one? No, but I'm not used to seeing add to cart next to the video card on the store page. We, just to be clear, we didn't buy any, but that's kind of the market situation we're in right now, where we're past the complete unavailability of things, but we're into some weird FOMO stage where now people have been trained to see the card in stock and want it, just because they don't know when the next chance is going to be. Really bizarre, kind of fun in a sense from an analytical, like zoomed out standpoint. Not fun being in it for the last few years in some ways, but at least it's stabilizing. That's really reassuring. It's great to see, especially from our perspective, where it'll bring back some excitement for people to see build content too. All right, next one, CPU-Z adds support for AMD's Ryzen 7000 and Intel's Raptor Lake CPUs. So the latest build of CPU-Z has added preliminary support for the upcoming CPU release from AMD and Intel, and those will be the Ryzen 7000 series and the Intel Raptor Lake series. Both of these platforms are expected by the end of 2022, and as usual, support for them will be ongoing. Furthermore, the CPU-Z changelog confirms rumors that AMD's Raphael will be an RDNA 2-based APU, similar to AMD's Rembrandt. On the graphics front, CPU-Z will now also properly recognize and support AMD's Radeon 6800S or XT series and Intel's A-Arc series GPUs, as well as NVIDIA's 3090 Ti. Additionally, if you remember the controversy around the 8 gigahertz validation, High Cookie and their Bower were kind of going at it for a little bit there. the High Cookie and Der Bauer both being extreme overclockers, Der Bauer having a YouTube channel as well. CBUZ is now beefing up its validation for high-frequency clock submissions, so this is likely a result of that Alder like 8 gigahertz conundrum previously. Up next, Corsair announces DDR5 SO-DIMM kits. If you've been bored of only being able to buy DDR5 for desktops for $500, now you can also buy it for laptops for $500. It actually starts at $270. What a deal. So Corsair's new Vengeance DDR5 SO-DIMMs are going to be offered in 4800 megatransfer per second kits, at least initially. Most DDR5 speeds, even those of desktop kits, are still relatively tame. This is standard for when a new DDR iteration is rolled out. And we'll see that ramp with time, obviously. But as it takes time to ramp up those speeds, this is what we're dealing with. That said, the bigger issue here will be the price. So Corsair's DDR5 Vengeance SO-DIMM kits, that's the laptop, the smaller version of DDR SO-DIMM, that will be $270 for 32 gigabytes. That's two 16 gigabyte sticks. And it's $520 for 64 gigabytes, or 2x32. That's if you can afford them. They're available right now. Corsair is citing some of the latest DDR5 compatible laptops, such as the Alienware X17R2, the MSI Raider GE66 12UHS, and the Asus ROG Zephyrus M16 as being compatible with the offerings. These prices will come down with time, but for now, it's definitely a hefty early adopter tax. If you didn't see our Micro Center video where we helped a viewer build the system, shout out to Jimmy, you should check out that video, because in it, this is just sort of a customer came into the store, was interested in building a PC. He came in thinking AMD Ryzen. I explained the Intel 12th gen situation to him. He became interested in 12th gen. We looked at memory prices, and then he went back to AMD Ryzen, which is not bad. It's just because there was no DDR4 boards available for Intel. So this is a big problem for Intel right now, despite there being plenty of DDR4 memory, and DDR5 was like $600 a kit for something that was even halfway worth considering. And even then, you lose the consideration because of the price. So anyway, it's going to be like that in laptops as well. There's a bit of a latency there. Laptops will come down after the desktop memory prices come down later. Up next, AMD shadow launches the 6400. This is always amusing to us because it's almost like when a company is ashamed of its GPU, it will launch it but not tell anyone. So the 6400, not XT, is a $160 video card. It's for the DIY market, and it has unceremoniously rolled it out in as little light as possible. This is, originally it was an exclusive OEM only option, so Dell, HP, etc. Now it is available for DIY. The 6400 technically debuted back in January as that OEM option with little fanfare, if any at all, aside from the whole AMD conspicuously removing its 4 gigabyte isn't enough for games article that it wrote a few years ago because it conflicted with the modern 4 gigabyte cards AMD was launching. But other than that, there wasn't really any fanfare for the 6400. So the 6400 hasn't changed much, other than that there will be some AIB models that'll have low-profile coolers and single-slot designs. This is maybe the most useful aspect of it. The 6400 is still an RDNA 2-based card. It's based on Navi 24. It has 4 gigabytes of 16 gigabit per second GDDR6. There's 16 megabytes of Infinity Cache and 768 stream processors with a base clock rate of 1923 megahertz and a boost rate of 2321 megahertz. The card doesn't need any auxiliary power for the power supply, although board partners may change that. But there's really no reason for them to, because it gets all the power it needs from the PCIe slot alone. If you're not familiar, the PCIe spec says approximately 75 watts through the slot is okay. 66 of those watts can be from 12 volt. The rest would be 3, 3, and 5. So that's the setup for the card. If it's interesting at all, it's interesting in the same aspects, the same way that the GT1030 is, which is maybe useful for a low profile build, something where you need a short card, a card without auxiliary power, something like that. Very expensive for the specs. Very, very, very expensive for what it does, especially if you're not really needing to do much gaming. You just need some kind of video processor. It loses a lot of the hardware features too. We'll talk about that if we review one. Anyway, the card's connectivity is limited. It only has one HDMI 2.1 port and has one DisplayPort 1.4 output. As for gaming, its 4 gigabytes of VRAM effectively relegates it to older games at 1080p or general GPU acceleration tasks, and that's about it. And for 1080p, most gamers would be better suited by moving up to a 6500 XT, but that's not really a great card anyway, so almost you're better off looking for used cards right now in the same price point. There's very minimal video encoding and decode support on the 6400, like the 6500 XT, so the card won't find much traction in the HTPC crowd or the home theater PC crowd either. AMD claims that the card competes with Nvidia's GTX 1050, and its man, just did a double take on that because GTX 1050, technically Ti, but 1050 Ti, how old is that now? Let's put the date up on the screen when the 1050 Ti launched. It's competing with the 1050 Ti from this year on the screen and the GTX 1650. So anyway, aside from the DIY and general consumer availability, there's not much else worth talking about regarding the 6400 non-XT. Both the card and the price are far from ideal. If you have to have something, you could probably do worse, but not our main recommendation. Up next, a story about EK Waterblocks cutting a significant portion of its workforce. Approximately 25% of its staff based in Slovenia, which is where its headquarters is located, will be laid off or has already been laid off. This is as a result of a large sales drop quarterly of about 20% quarter over quarter. However, in speaking with off-record sources, GN has been told that several of the jobs cut were what EK internally considered to either be redundant or unnecessary to begin with. So this indicates that if that's true, EK maybe expanded in the wrong direction or added job roles where it probably should have just added optimization instead. So as they optimized, they ended up not needing those jobs anymore. Not the best way to do things. Anyway, the company largely blames COVID-19 here. Easy scapegoat. But given that, if you look at the numbers, EK hired approximately the same amount of people as it has just laid off in 2021. So we're sort of after all of this started, and then it let go of the same amount of people within a year. That looks to me more like a management problem. Anyway, EK has been struggling, it looks like in some ways, to keep the sales volume up. Some of this is because initial demand from work from home, early days of the pandemic, where there was this massive increase in PC sales. Some of you might remember people were scrambling to get them for school at home, work from home, whatever. That probably fueled a lot of EK's growth early on. That has since died off. And if EK assumed that growth was permanent and perpetual, you could see where the problems would emerge, where they hire for something that is not sustainable. And we'll see this happen with more companies, whichever ones expanded in ways, over-hiring in a period of excessive demand that is just not sustainable permanently. Those are the companies that'll be going through these periods. So anyway, EK also, oddly, noted that it is trying to expand in new regions. We were told this as well from our sources at EK, or formerly at EK, depending. And it's trying to grow in new geographic areas where it'll be expanding its market, despite having just laid off a significant portion of staff. So Zen 4 CPUs are our last story here this week. This is some early Zen 4 CPUs in pre-production. The leak was spotted by @BenchLeaks on Twitter. It suggests early stepping revisions of AMD's Zen 4 architecture are now in pre-production environments and early manufacturing or test manufacturing. These leaks were first published to the Milky Way at Home BOINC, or Berkeley Open Infrastructure for Computing Project website, where the upload indicates a 16-core Zen 4 CPU on a host system containing 32 gigabytes of RAM. Cache is indicated at 1024 kilobytes, perhaps inaccurate or unrepresentative of the final processor, but it gives us an early indication, basically, that they're in pre-production, and probably AMD is on target to hit its public target date of end of year sometime 2022 for Zen 4. So that's it for hardware news this week. As always, thank you for watching. If you want to pick up one of these shirts, they are, as we said earlier, limited. We're only going to do one run of these. They are pre-order, so you can get in there. You know you're going to get the sizes you want right now, but they are not going to be sold forever. And then we're donating 100% of the profits to the charities that we indicated earlier. So if you want to support some great groups and relief efforts and get something cool and unique in return, this is an excellent way to do it. And as always, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. Go to store.gamersnexus.net for more details on this and our other stuff. Now is a great time to buy something like our coaster or toolkit packs as well. And we'll see you all next time.